Hi, this is Ashna here. A very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for Day of Security for having me here. And I would say, like, I have done a lot of speaking session internationally for Day of Security, but I think today I'm very proud that this is being hosted at India. Although it's virtual, I think very soon we will kind of meet each other in the real as well. Having said that, a quick background about me. So I'm Archana. I'm working currently in Cisco. So my expertise is definitely 17 years of my journey is all around the cyber SOC operations. So if you have any questions around cyber SOC or the strategies, please reach out to my LinkedIn. I did post my LinkedIn link over there. But as we go through the sessions, if there are any questions, just feel free to kind of put it onto the channel that you have where you can ask questions around it. And I'll kind of address at the end of the session. Having said that, let's get into the topic of today. And I'm sure that you had lots of beautiful session in lots of informative sessions since morning. I've been listening to a lot of tracks, a lots of track around the AI speaking. And having said that, this session is also kind of going to give you lots of information in terms of the key strategies that you need to think about. Feel free to kind of chat around what questions are there and what is that it is actually bothering you. Just feel free. Let's get set into comfortable mode. Okay, so let's get started over here. So today, the topic that I'm going to bring here is around the key navigational strategies that you need to use in SOC to be cyber resilient. Wow, that's a lots of words in that, right? So let me just begin. Before I'll begin with a agenda, and then we'll kind of simplify things for you. And I'm sure there are different audiences over here. There could be somebody who is not in SOC, there could be somebody who is working in SOC, and that could become somebody who is really looking out for an opportunity. So let me simplify for you things around what I'm talking about. So here is what I would go through the flow, and I want to ensure that we'll begin with a small story, which I would call it as a cyber sales, and then we will try to understand what does cyber resilient means, and then we'll to use one use case that we're going to talk about today is around the security operations center and how we are going to use these key navigational strategy, which is the topic of today, to drive to ensure that we are cyber resilient. Okay, so let's begin with it. So let's begin with a small analogy of a story. Okay, so imagine that you're a group of five friends who love to go on trips. Okay, and over your life experience, you have traveled a lot on the roads, you have traveled a lot of the airplanes and stuff. But this time you wanted to try something new. So what did you do at this is, let's assume for a minute, you wanted to, all five friends are gathering together and trying to understand that let's do a ship, go through the journey, let's go to a different destination, but we are going to travel by ship through oceans, basically. And let's call for a minute the cruise that you selected is named as Cybersails. So you're going to travel in the Cybersails to whatever destination that you like to go. So let's put a statement over here like, it's a 6 days journey that you're going to go from one place to another place. And this cyber sale is going to help you to do that, help you to transport that. So you had all your packing gears, all everything ready. You ensured all the safety measures have been done, taken. At the same time, add the crew members of the cruise and the ship is also ensuring that, they're kind of taking care of all the measures to ensure that the safety of the passengers is met. Now, having said this, the day one goes very smoothly, you're enjoying, you're having a lot of fun. Day two also goes very smoothly. Day three also goes smoothly. But day four, an uncertainty, something happens when you're middle of the ocean. Okay. Now I think some of you might be familiar with saying, okay, is she talking about a Titanic movie? Okay, just imagine for a minute something like that. Okay. So day four, you're suddenly hit by a storm, which was uncertain. You never knew that there is a storm because you might be thinking, hey, this is a weather prediction, which should ideally, people within the crew members should have taken care of it. But always there's an uncertainty in life that will happen, right? So it was unfortunate that we have, these five friends have got hit by a day four on a storm. The crew members are really working hard to ensure that the safety of the passengers is met. But somehow, luckily, on day five, you kind of the crew members are really working hard and they ensure that you reach the destination very safely. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell over here is just like the uncertainties in the life, the calamities, the natural calamities that is not happening every day. It comes once in a while, right? Similar to that, today everything which is connected in the digital. This compare this ocean like a digital ocean. Every single thing is communicated through digitally. The businesses are kind of talking, and everything is onto the internet. While they're all onto that digital world, you never know when you're going to face against the storm. And the storm that we're talking about today is about the cyber threat attack. And when you're faced with a cyber threat attack, the organizations want to be very prepared. They need to be cyber resilient against. And what we have understood from all these years, and I'm sure that you all must be familiar with, every time you go today, you will see every single page that there is an attack that is happening, not just onto the enterprise, whether it's a government, universities, everybody is under attack, right? The cyber threat attack that I'm talking about. So how do you really face this uncertain is a big question. So the board members and all the all the organizations have prepared their mind. If it's not today, it may be tomorrow that we are going to get attacked. But if you are going to get attacked, what are we going to do? And that is why the to be cyber resilient is very important. And what does that means to an organization is simply keep the business running no matter if you're hit by any sort of an attack, the larger attack scale that I can talk about. So to keep the business running, it's very important, right, for all the organization to ensure how are we going to get prepared. Like the crew members were very much prepared for the storm, ensuring that all the safety, it's not just around the tools and the technology that they have in place for the crews, even the skill set of the people, even the navigational, even everything was in place. So if you don't have everything onto the place, it's very difficult to be cyber resilient. And to keep the business running, you need to ensure that you have all the right cybersecurity measures that is being taken place in your organization. What I mean by measures is basically right tools, right technology, right people, and things all needs to be in place. At the same time, you should invest in the right security teams who are going to drive your mission to secure your organization. At the same time, you need to have the right security policies and guidelines to be done. Now, this is very high level. You must be assuming, right? It's very high level. Yes. If I am in a mission where I have to secure my company, it's very important that I have to ensure that all of these things are met. It's very fundamentally very high level understood. Let's take a scenario, and that's where I will deep dive, taking today a scenario of a SOC from where I come from, my expertise come from. How many of you have heard about SOC? So SOC basically stands for Security Operations Center. And this team is a very mission-oriented team. Now, what I mean by mission-oriented is there's a task. Have you watched the Avengers movie? If you all have done, there's a task each one of you have. So this is a team with a very different skill sets. No matter whether you are just very technical or non-technical, you all have some role to play over here. So this is a team. The priorities of this team is they discover the threats, they detect the threats, and anytime they are going to see an attack happening, an hacker attacking a company, they need to respond to that threat, they need to mitigate the threat, they need to recover the systems. So this is the high level 4 goals of this SOC team, which is always 24/7. So having known that this is the role of the SOC, let's move further. Okay, so the moving further is, if you're somebody who are in the SOC, you might be resonating with what I have put it onto the screen. But for somebody who is new, who is listening, let me give you a little high level understanding of it. So knowing that this is a very mission oriented team, right? You're going to detect the threats, you're going to protect the organization. So obviously you will ask, how am I going to do this? The basic question is, you need to have the tools, right? You need to have the tools who's going to detect the threats. Yes, if you look at the evolution of the SOC for the last several years, and I would say, do you remember the time when we used to have antivirus in our laptop and we said, okay, I have antivirus, I'm protected. So those are the times when it actually began where you're defending. Those were the guardrails, like your security standing in front of your building. Those were the guardrails. The firewall was a guardrail. Antivirus was a guardrail. But what happened over the years is the attackers became very sophisticated. They became more intelligent, right? And SOC is a blue team. What I mean by blue team, we are defender teams. Anytime somebody attacking, we have to kind of respond to it. So what happened is, the attacks became tremendous. There are lots of advancement, a lot of people coming in digital. We couldn't defend that. So they said, we need more advancement technology, and that's where the SIM came into picture. So what essentially SIM is, what the heart of the SOC is, we work on logs. What I mean by logs is like, We collect logs from several devices, whether it's a firewall, your laptop, your mobile, every logs we aggregate in one place, and then we start looking for, hunting for threats. But what happened over that years also, as this technology came in, we were still facing a lot of challenge. And then what happened? The solution came. Okay, where is I can quickly detect threats? Let's put that control over there. And then that came a new technology revolution calling as EDR, which is called endpoint detection and response. What they did is, which is the closest? An attacker is going to attack something. What it's going to attack? It's going to attack your laptop or endpoints, right? Endpoint is the closest. So let's put some controls over there. Then they invented this technology of EDR. But as this technology was evolving and evolving, things went from on-prem to cloud. And when it went to cloud, there's a different gamut of challenges that we had to face around. Things are all open. And then what happened is the challenges, the innovations kept, as and when the innovations, lot of product innovations were happening. Every single software in the organization will multiple, probably I'm thinking, I don't know how much number of tools you use, there will be number of tools that you use. We faced challenges. We had every single tool that is going to solve one use case. It was not feasible solution. We needed something which can orchestrate all of this. So what I'm trying to convey over here is the evolution of the technology is always going to happen. But how are you going to be responsible to kind of defend against this threat, right? And this is where we felt we kind of were in these challenges mode of SOC. We said, like, there's a lot of complex. If you think or talk about an enterprise company, it's a very huge complex. There are lots of business unit. You might have not even spoken know what kind of business unit are there in your organization. Very complex environment to work. And the threats, the attackers have become very sophisticated. They know every single way of how to kind of hide themselves and come inside the network. And what as a SOC persons were facing, as a, me being whether you're an analyst or an investigator or any sort of role that you have it, there are too many alerts. I don't know what I have to prioritize. One alert says that my domain controller is kind of impacted. The other alert says me like there's 100 machines have been impacted by ransomware. Where am I going to prioritize? Imagine the situation of a person who's detecting in mission oriented, right? So these are the various challenges that we came across the SOC. And so, how do we address these challenges, right? And this is where the key topic for today that I'm going to talk about is what are those key navigational strategies? Remember, like the crew member, not everything is in our radar. We need to prioritize things, okay? And I'm going to break down these key navigational strategies into three buckets. I'm going to talk one, if you're an operational team, what are the key focus that you need to do? If you're somebody as a CSO or CIO or a manager or a director of a team, how you should bring those strategies, and as an organization and as an individual, how can you bring those navigation strategy? Let's begin with understanding as an operational team. When I say operational team is somebody you're working in a SOC, whether you're a blue team or red team, doesn't matter. So how are you going to defend against this threat? Number one, there are three things that I talk over here. Number one is you need to bring an actionable threat detection. What I mean over here is, giving a simple example for somebody who is new and into this journey. You have tools in place, technology in place, who's going to alert you saying that there's something which is anomaly getting detected. Now tell me, how are you going to prioritize this? Then like this, there'll be 100 alerts that will be popping onto your screen. Now to make things actionable, will you work on all the 100, keeps resolving on it, or will you work on the prioritized things which is bothering your organization, right? That's a risk. You need to think about it. If you're in SOC today, if you're just getting an alert, you're kind of remediating, then you're not doing fruitful to your organization. What you need to do is bring the things actionable. What I mean by actionable is get as much as contextual information that you can bring within your SOC. Giving a simple example, do you have a threat intelligence team? Okay, so threat intelligence team is somebody who is going to tell you that today the attackers are kind of using these IPs. Did you know that today at this moment, this time, these are the trending things that is happening, whether it's a domain and IP. Are you integrating that? If you're integrating, well and good. If you're not integrating, you need to keep thinking like, how can I bring these threat intelligence? Because when I'm going to talk to my manager or my director or CISOs or CSO, what they're interested is, tell me what is the risk to my company. And I cannot say these are 100 alerts I worked. Out of 100 alerts, prioritize. You need to prioritize and tell me these are the risks that this company is facing. We need to address this so that the CISOs and the CSOs can do the right investments for you, right? And if at all, if somebody over here is going to say, yes, we do have threat intelligence integrated, then I would say just think a little beyond the scope now. What I'd say is break the silos. Most of the time when I kind of meet a lot of people outside of my organization, different companies, they say, yes, we are working in SOC, Archana. We are very, every time we are kind of in shift now, 24 bar 7, we need to monitor it. I ask, okay, are you working, within the team? I said, yes, we have the team within, we are working at it. I said, how much of you are aware, your different teams who are also on the same mission to secure the things. Giving a simple example, how many of them who are working today in SOC are kind of doing that, working with different compliance team? I'm sure, I don't know. Do you get the data from such teams, business insights team or the compliance team? And I'm sure that the answer to this would be very minimal. Giving a simple example, with a lot of cyber laws that is getting passed, there's a huge demand on an organization to ensure that they meet regulatory compliance. And when you look at these tools that are giving you the risk assessment, are you incorporating those as a contextual information within the SOC? What I mean over here is simple as let's assume for a minute your company is kind of moving things to the cloud, and you have your product which is kind of telling you what is your security posture of the compliance posture of a particular business unit, who needs to ensure that they kind of adhere to 10 controls. And if they're not doing it, probably they are trying to say that this is a high risk business unit who's not following the controls. And let's assume for a minute, as a SOC, you're kind of finding a lot of threats for these business unit. It's going to be simple, right? If you're not going to adhere to the compliance, you're obviously going to increase your workload of having more attacks coming in. They probably are leaving things open into the internet. They're not adhering to the compliance. So bring these two data together into your SOC so that you can prioritize the risk. This is a simple example that I would like to urge to people who are working in SOC to think about it out of box. The second thing that you can think about is proactive preparedness. Now, what I mean over here is how many of you who are working in the SOC today are doing a lot of tabletop exercises? Do you know well your processes? Have you prepared your, when there is a big cyber attack or big ransomware attack, assume for a minute, do you know what every team has to do? Probably your team knows, but how are you going to kind of ensure that, you're going to recover the system? You need the support of every different teams. You need the support of IT. You need the support of various teams to come together to defend against. You're not just going to be the one person who are defender here, because you need to push controls. You need to put the blockers. How are you going to do if you're not proactive in this? So ensure that you, as much as tabletop exercises are being cultivated as an, as a culture within your organization to test your own process. And when I say this, and towards the end, I would definitely come to it. And this usually the SOC is always thought as a very technical team. And I always go back to the women's and say that, hey, it's not a technical team. You love to do program managing, you are welcome over here. You still have a role here. You are somebody who are animator, you have a role over here. And I'll come to that. If you are somebody who like to be animator, how could you contribute to the cybersecurity? In a meanwhile, I'll come to that. Okay. So no matter what role, this is a huge demand industry today around the SOC, because no matter whichever role you come, you fit into this some or other. And the third thing that what navigational strategy that you can think about is AI powered tools. There's a lot of talks today about the AI. And organization today are also moving towards this jargon of, hey, I need to have AI. Okay. And what I will say, as I did hear Vandana speaking in the keynote session, like she was talking about the good version of AI, bad version of AI over here. And what I see over here in the SOC that you could use is, yes, there's a lot of talk around the generative AI and how the SOC could get best of this would be triaging aspects of things. Okay. So remember, usually SOC, when we talk about, there's a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and sometimes even tier 4, depends on the organization that you come in. Triaging, understanding the alert, getting that contextual information is very hard. So maybe this could be a use case for you to think about of how you could leverage generative AI to bring those trends together or any sort of information in a way that is faster, that, to detect the threats. It helps you. Think about that as a use case. But at the same time, as you're kind of implementing these AI solutions, don't forget that how, this is a future thing that all the companies are still thinking about, because this team is detecting the threats, right? If it's an AI-led threat, how are you going to do? How will you know this is a real hacker who is attacking, or is it an AI-generated system who is going to hack? You need to think about building these strategies in place. So this is all about if you're an operational team of how you're going to build the key navigational strategy. If you're somebody today in the audience who are from leadership, when I say leadership, it could be a manager, your CISO or CSO, how are you going to approach that strategy, governance across this? So I would say ensure that you have a governance in the framework for three things, the four things that I'm kind of putting over here. One is ensure that you take a model of risk-based approach. Because until you take this model, it is going to be very hard for you to define what is that risk posture of a company would look like. So think around these thoughts. At the same time, ensure that there's a lot of compliance adherence that is happening across your organization, because until that is being done, you will always be liable across. At the same time, when I talk about the future readiness, is all about all the AI things that we talk about. If at all there's a huge AI-led attack, how are we going to cope up with that? Right? So we need to ensure that our teams are prepared for that as well. So these are some of the governance and the framework models that you will have to think about when you're as a leader to navigating to be cyber resilient, because that's the heart of the conversation that we are having today, is how can we be prepared to be cyber resilient. Last but not the least, as an organization culture, as an individual, how are you going to contribute it to be cyber resilient? Now, what I mean over here is, now that everything is digital in the world, AI coming into picture, people, which I'm, or the human are going to be the weakest link over here. Whether it's a social engineering, whether it's a phishing attack, we guys are going to be the victim. Okay. So very important at an organization level is you need to have a lot of training and awareness to be spread across the different scenarios. It becomes very important that your all employees of your company are aware of what they are kind of, facing it. Because when we talk about the AI, the future thing is like we all get phishing emails, right? Let's say you, like, even if you're Gmail, if you go, there's a spam folder which will try to kind of lure you, saying that you kind of won a lottery, you kind of won a Amazon voucher. We can't hardly check all these things. We just go and click it, and you're boom, you're under you're under somebody's radar, right? So people are always, and with AI coming in, it's just going to fast track all these things, because today there will not be a single AI will massively speeden up all these attacks. They're very creative. The AI tools are very creative in terms of creating the emails and things. I'm sure at some point of a time, and that I've been reading a lot of articles, like how hackers are going to leverage this AI to speeden up their attacks. So please be aware, ensure that you're culturally at an organization, you're driving a lot of training and awareness. And this is where I was talking about, if you are somebody who doesn't want to be technical, you are somebody animator, you could think about this role in this SOC, where you can contribute to stories, these training and awareness session. And as an individual, what you could do it at the end, although we are all working for a company, we also at somewhere are prone to cyber attack for our own personal stuff, right? And this is where you need to get plugged into community like this that we are all in today. Today it is day of security. There'll be many communities that we have. Until or unless we are all kind of meeting in this community, whether it's a virtual or whether it's a real or whether it's a live, try to get the trends of what's happening in everybody's organization and how they're kind of defending it. So I really thank and appreciate this day of security coming in with such a platforms and various other platforms that every other companies are coming in. Get plugged into this community as much as possible, because the exposure that you get in these community is not just about this driving the strategies, but also it helps you to how I need to get into some role that I'm interested. So this is where I would say, culturally and individually as an organization, how you need to kind of drive things. So this was something I had for today. Yes, I do see. Is there any question? So yeah, Swati, if you want, if there's somebody who is asking, please unmute them, and I'm happy to kind of address that question. So yeah. So thanks for the adding. Will AI replace? Okay, so there's a question from Divya. Will AI replace the job of SOC analyst? Interesting question, and I think I face this question a lot. Like, will AI kind of take over the world? I would say, see, at any point of it time, AI, look at AI as a solution for automation at this moment, automating some of the regular tasks. At any point of a time, always is there needs to be human who has to intervene at some point of a time. So I really will not say like, AI is going to replace us as a job of a psychoanalyst. But I think what is very important is find those, they are trying to find those repetitive tasks, things that can help the workflows. I think that's where AI will should look. You should look at AI from that piece of perspective. It's not going to replace entirely human. Human is needed at some point of a time, right? You cannot, to analyze things, you do need human. So to answer to Divya, so I would not say AI is going to complete your jobs are gone. It's not like, but maybe the portions of the workflows, because what organizations are looking when we say AI, it's not to replace you. It's about find those repetitive tasks, find those things where we could leverage this technology in place, right? It's just like, during the during the COVID time, just to give a simple example, you used to go outdoors and shop, but when you were hit, you started using the online platforms. You just leverage the technology to ease your job. So think AI from that perspective, leverage the things to ease your job. Where are those challenges? But don't see AI as a threatening that is going to replace you. But having said that, ensure that you are always staying relevant, because that's more important, because cybersecurity that we talked about this role with the AI coming into picture, we are also learning. How are we? Let's assume for a minute, if there is an earlier we used to know that this is a hacker, this is a thing that this is coming, we were able to attribute things. But if it's AI going to give attack, how are we going to do it? We are still learning through this phase. So this is a long answer to short, Divya. We are not going to replace humans, but yes, the organizations are looking from the perspective of automations, like where we could leverage the technology to ease, because this is a mission-oriented team, as I talked about. It's all about how fast to detect things. We need to detect things faster and respond it accurately. So with this, I think it's great meeting you all. If there are any questions, please do reach out to me. Happy to kind of connect with various communities, like-minded people, and a lot of women over here who had various tasks. I really appreciated a lot of, several tasks. I myself gained a lot of things over here. So thank you all. Anything else, just please reach out to me.